Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and in today's video we're going to take a look at a pretty nice game that I had in the North Carolina, the Tier 8 American battleship. I'm divvied up with my buddies Puddin and Spider, and they're playing in the Edinburgh and Charles Martel respectively, the Tier 8 British light cruiser and French heavy cruiser, and we're playing some domination here on the map Sea of Fortune. So this replay comes from our stream that we had about 2 weeks ago, where we were celebrating the fact that we are now coming up very close to reaching 500,000 total views, halfway to 1 million. And, now that I think about it, we've been making content for almost 3 years now. And as I probably do quite often in my videos, I just want to thank you guys very much for all of the support that you guys give us all of the time, all of your free time that you spend watching our content, and hopefully you learn something from it, hopefully you enjoy it, and it's been really fun to have our community grow. But yeah, this North Carolina replay that you're going to see here, this game is a pretty nice one, and it really does show why the North Carolina is a fan favorite, not just at Tier 8, but it's just one of the most fun, probably one of the most popular battleships in the game, tier for tier. The North Carolina finally breaks away from the mold of the standard type battleships that you're accustomed to with the Americans, from the Wyoming at Tier 4 all the way up to the Colorado at Tier 7, and all the various premiums that you can get as well, like the Texas and the Arizona. The North Carolina, among other things, finally has speed. It has some pretty potent AA defense. It has some upgraded 16-inch guns over the Colorado, and the ship is also pretty stealthy and fairly maneuverable. It's a good jack-of-all-trades battleship that has a lot of strengths and really doesn't have that many weaknesses. So you're going to see over the course of the replay, because there are carriers in here, a good overall and a good well-rounded replay that showcases what the North Cal can do when it is piloted by a very competent captain. So starting off here, I'm going towards B. We decided to make a feint towards the C cap, and I'm going to toss some shells downrange at the enemy York. Over 19 kilometers when I pop the salvo off. You can see that the shells take a very long time to get there. However, these things do hit very hard, and 35,000 damage, first blood, and devastating strike on that German Tier 7 cruiser. And to top it all off, I managed to dodge the salvo from the Bismarck on his opening salvo of the game. So, yeah, the North Cal, as I said, it has some very, very good guns. They do have shell velocity that's borderline incredulous. It's about a little bit over 700 meters a second. But what you do get are very hard-hitting guns. The Citadel damage on these 16-inch shells are pretty sweet. They're also very accurate as well, and that's the two big things with these guns, the accuracy and the raw damage that you can produce with them. And even against Tier 10 battleships and cruisers, a North Carolina should be feared because of the potency of its broadside. And that poor York found out, well, when BBs are shooting at you, you kind of need to turn and get out of dodge. But that is a-okay, because we have the early lead, 335 to 250. Now you can see that the enemy team is actually making a pretty heavy push for the seaside. Unfortunately, our Kagero got caught out of position, most likely from enemy carrier aircraft, and unfortunately he died. So this is a theme with a lot of games. Losing your destroyers early is something that is not beneficial, because you lose the ability to contest and cap the zones that you need to get to accumulate points. Now, there is going to be a little bit of lag throughout the course of this replay, as if you are not already aware. So this is not a replay bug. This was simply me lagging during the course of this game. Excuse me. But anyway, so what you can see here is our team that was heading over to C is now being a bit more cautious about doing so. The enemy force is dispositioned against us. You can see that the majority are over there on the northeast side of the map, and unfortunately our Harikaze over at the A cap kicks the bucket as well. So we've already lost 2 out of our 3 destroyers, and the last Harikaze is running to the south-southwest. So it's not looking good already very early on. We're not even 4 minutes into the game. The enemy team is about to cap A. They are in the process of capturing C, and it's only a matter of time before they try to make a push on the B cap. So it was at this point that I realized that our best bet is to not run full head into the C forces, or the forces that are around the C cap, but our best bet is to actually turn tail and go back towards the A. And the rationale is pretty simple. There's only one enemy battleship over there, whereas you can see that we do have quite a bit of our battleships, including myself, south of B. And dealing with that Bismarck shouldn't be too terribly hard as long as we get some timely air support in the form of spotting. Now, of course, those 2 enemy destroyers in the ACAP could provide a pretty significant threat to us. But like I said, if we're able to get that Bismarck, it's going to open up the map, at least on the west side, quite a bit, because then we won't have to worry about the Bismarck potentially getting our broadside. And the Bismarck is going to help us out by actually pushing in and getting focused down here as I get ready to send my first of a few salvos downrange at that T-rate German battleship. Now, one mistake that the enemy team made during the course of this game is that you can see that, well, they were capturing the sea point some time ago, but they're not right now. There was an Asashio in the cap, but the enemy team actually waits quite a long time to finally get onto the sea cap. And that is going to prove to be very valuable for myself and our team as the replay progresses. You can see that there's still quite a few of those ships that are north of the sea cap, and they have yet to move in, which was a little bit peculiar, but at the time, you know, we're down 2 ships to 1, and more importantly, 2 DDs, and our last dude over there only has 2,300 hit points, so it's a very good thing that he didn't die outright as well. You can see that the carrier coming in with some good, timely drops on that enemy battleship. He did about 20,000 points of damage, maybe a little bit more, I think, with the torpedo planes. So obviously that Bismarck had to use his damage control, and he is going to be in a very bad spot, assuming the bombers come in, and that's exactly what they do, is they chunk him down for half of his remaining hit points. I also get a salvo going down range. Now you can see that the enemy Massachusetts that was to the north of the sea cap actually got a pretty good salvo off on me, and I take 23,000 points of damage with 1 citadel and a few penetrations. I was actually very surprised, also because I lagged a little bit right there, and the hit points getting taken away from me kind of startled me a little bit when I had that brief bit of lag. But yeah, I was actually in a little bit of a compromised position, because if I turned broadside to the Bismarck, well, you know, obviously the Bismarck could punish me, but if I turned back to the right, then all those battleships northeast of me would be able to hit me as well. And that's what the Massachusetts did. However, I turn my guns on the Baltimore, and I get a meaty salvo of over 20,000 points of damage on that guy, curtailing his hit points by about 2/3 and forcing him to move away from the cap. Now you can see that the enemy team is still lollygagging around in the sea cap, and around the sea cap, which is very, very surprising. And even though we're losing the game by almost 100 points and the enemy team is now capturing B while in control of A and C, I was thinking to myself at the time that this game is far from over, and that we're not necessarily in a do-or-die situation just at the moment. We still have to push into the A-cap. However, wanted to wait for these torpedoes to go down, and any second now in chat, I'm going to make it heard to our team that that is the play that we need to make. And you can see that we're going to be able to push this A-cap with a lot of hit points to work with. The Tirpitz almost full health. The Nelson is doing pretty okay. Puddin and Spider are pushing in as well with 30k apiece. So all we got to do is get the kill here on the Lo Yang into Cleveland, and the Lo Yang makes a humongous mistake getting spotted by the Edinburgh's radar, which was pretty sweet. Puddin getting in there and getting that guy spotted for us. I do get a pretty cheeky kill steal here on 86 hit points. However, that enemy destroyer has now been dealt with, and it shows that the Edinburgh can be a pretty effective radar boat, and it doesn't get as much credit as it probably should. 9 kilometers of concealment allows you to get in to your radar range and be able to use it as soon as you get detected. So a very good radar by Puddin right there, allowing more breathing space over here. And again, even though the enemy team has all 3 of the caps, we're about ready to get yet another kill here on this enemy Cleveland. He tries to turn to his starboard, but I do aim properly. I get a citadel, and then I crunch through the deck armor and pick up my 3rd kill of the game. I'm up to 112,000 points of damage, and all of a sudden the enemy team has lost 1/3 of their fleet. Now you can also see here as I'm trying to... well, when the spot plane's up, there's a little bit of lag going on here. It's kind of new to the... another little bug in the replay thing. I'm looking downrange at the Tirpitz, and this is the next guy that our team is going to focus on. You can see that there's a friendly Iowa that's well to the north, or well to the south of the Tirpitz's position, so he decides to turn to angle towards that guy, and now he's getting slammed by not just myself, but also the friendly carrier as well. Fortunately for our team, we're now finally getting onto the A-cap, so at this point in the game, assuming that a couple ships don't die in quick succession, we're actually well within the advantage here, as the Essex Canadian Moose does manage to burn out that premium German BB. So once more, even though we're down by about 30 points, the enemy team has now lost half of their number, and it's only a matter of time. We still have plenty of game left to work with here. There's still over 10 minutes left in the battle. You can see that I moved into a position to try and use my AA to help out my friendlies that were over there. And, you know, the North Carolina, as I mentioned, has a very potent AA suite, and this thing is not even fully spec'd for AA. And it's still able to do quite a number. And again, this is also a Tier 9 enemy aircraft carrier, the Essex, that's on the board. So these planes are one tier higher, and I'm still able to get a decent amount done with the AA on my ship. I dunk a 10K salvo there onto the Colorado. You can see that the Jean Bart has now relocated, and he is sitting to the northeast of the B-cap. My buddy in the Iowa managed to stay alive. He's an H7, and now he's going to be pushing into the C-cap as well. So we're going to be able to apply some pressure here to these guys. You can see that the enemy Baltimore is on 100 hit points. Spider manages to burn that guy out. So now the coast is clear for those guys. The Colorado and the Massachusetts of the enemy team are both in the B5 grid square and running away to the north and northeast. So now we're going to be able to push right back onto these caps and firmly take control of this game. Now, a little bit of a funny bit of RNG right here. The dispersion is absolutely atrocious, but it just so happens that the nice tall dispersion ellipse manages to land right into his superstructure, and I pick up the Confederate and deal over 11,000 points of damage, getting a few nice pens right on the superstructure area. So, yeah, that was some absolutely atrocious dispersion, but I got lucked out with some decent aim, and I was still able to hit that guy pretty hard. Now you can see that my buddies, Putin and Spider, did not decide to push around the corner, and they wanted to wait until us battleships can get into the B-cap, and that's exactly what's happening. I was a little bit afraid of the Xian Yang's torpedoes. I wasn't exactly sure where he was at. Obviously, that last reported location in F6 was quite some time ago, but I still wasn't sure, so I decided to err on the side of extreme caution. But now with my buddy in the Nelson and his Mega Heel going in there, I have to stay close to him to try and protect him from enemy aircraft. And you can see that torpedo planes and bombers are in on us. So getting close to him, we'll be able to get our AA bubbles nice and focusing on those planes. And then once we get the B-cap, we'll be able to move over to the east towards C and get that taken care of. You can see the friendly Iowa does manage to get on. These torpedoes come at the last second. Unfortunately, the Xian Yang is somewhere to the north of B, and I do eat a torpedo right on the midsection. My torpedo belt, well, the North Cal doesn't have a very good torpedo belt, and even though I was angled and it hit right underneath the superstructure, I still do flood. However, I decided to wait to use my repair until I'm 100% sure where that enemy torpedo squadron is dropping their payload, and it is on the friendly Nelson. So with those bomber threats now out of the way, I decided to use my repair, and you can see that my AA continues to churn out its deadly force on those enemy planes. There's a few enemy fighter groups that for some reason are sticking in the vicinity of my AA as I launch my forward turrets and then my rear turret downrange at the Essex trying to get a cheeky kill. However, you saw that the friendly carrier dunked him for like 40k with the first dive bomber squadron, and Canadian Moose finishes him off with the second group. So a very nice drop right there, pretty much deleting the entirety of the hit points from that enemy carrier. And now we have finally taken the lead for good, and our friendly Iowa is going to get the C-cap for good as well. So at this point, the game's pretty much unthrowable. Our carrier is going to be able to provide spotting. We have a 2-to-1 advantage in ships, so yeah, everything's going to be A-okay for the rest of this battle. You can see that the Xian Yang is actually going to go make a torpedo suicide charge on the Iowa. We'll see if he gets the kill on that guy. I launched a salvo extreme range at the Colorado. I aimed just a little bit too short, but I did manage to get one penetration. The Jean Bart is burning, and he will be going down here momentarily. Unfortunately, the friendly Iowa does kick the bucket there. But, you know, the friendly carrier is going to be sending some planes over there to try to spot that guy. However, I'm still going to err on the side of caution, and instead of going east into the C-cap, I'm actually going to turn to the left here to not only angle to the Massachusetts, but also keep those islands that are just off my bow right now on my starboard side. So if the enemy destroyer wanted to try and torpedo me, he's going to have his torpedo angles severely curtailed. And while I know that he probably still has about a minute left on his torpedo reload, I'm not taking any chances. So at this point, 3 enemy ships left in the game. We have 6 of them. The Massachusetts is now getting focused down from the combined fires of a few of the friendly ships here in my little battle group as we're moving north. Massachusetts is down to 2/3 hit points, and unfortunately another little bit of lag right there. But what you guys have seen so far through this game is for the most part, pretty good accuracy. Obviously, that dev strike at the beginning is a dime and a dozen, but it was still pretty cool nonetheless. But anyway, good accuracy. The AA support coming in, 23 planes shot down, utilizing my speed and concealment to maneuver around the map, get to where I need to go. And short of taking one pretty big hit from that Massachusetts, I really haven't taken too much damage. I still have 3 heals left, so I'm going to be okay. Looks like the carrier's going in for the drop on the CN Yang, and he manages to get him with the torpedoes as he picked up a Confederate and a high caliber and a devastating strike. So a very good job, Canadian Moose. If you do stumble across this video, a very nice job by you in the Essex. It's always nice to have a good carrier player on your team. I'm now going to send my next salvo downrange at the Colorado. I decided to forego the shot on the Massachusetts because, well, there were many people shooting at him, and I wanted to get a little bit more damage dealt in this game. The shells falling on the Colorado, 4,300 with 2 half penetrations right there. So I got 10 seconds left on the reload, and hopefully I can get one more meaty salvo into that Tier 7 American BB before this game reaches its conclusion. And the salvo goes downrange, and we're going to take a look here and see what we can do. He's down to 21,000 hit points. The shell's falling in. We're going to get a little bit of a lag, and then when it catches up, 12,600. I pick up the high caliber as well, and then the buddy in the turrets over there is going to finish off the game for us. And with that being said, let's take a look at the post-battle results. Alrighty guys, taking a look at the post-battle results, 461,000 credits received and 8,800 total experience earned. This was my first win of the day. I picked up Confederate, Dev Strike, First Blood, and High Caliber, dealing 168,000 points of damage. I hit 53 shells, had 5 citadels, 1 assisted base capture, 3 out of the 12 enemy ships destroyed, and 24 planes shot down. Taking a look at the team score, 2,843 base experience. Obviously, it was inflated a little bit by the planes that I shot down, but nonetheless, it was still a very good performance. Obviously, I've seen plenty of 3K plus base XP games in the North Cal, but for overall gameplay and a pretty good summary of how the ship plays, this replay is certainly up there with the others. Taking a look at the detailed report, every lick of damage dealt with the armor-piercing shells. That's what American battleships at the high tiers are known for. They have those super heavy, slow-moving AP shells that just deal lots of damage, and they're certainly able to hurt anything at most angles, at most ranges. I also maneuvered around for 52 kilometers of distance traveled, which for someone that just got out of the Colorado, this thing is going to feel like you're driving a sports car. And while I only took 40,000 damage, and most of that, again, was from the big salvo from the Massachusetts, I was still able to preserve my hit points to the mid to late stage of the game, where then I can push in, be a little bit more aggressive, and help secure the victory for our team. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this replay. Thanks for tuning in. Have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you guys later.